We are the Nerdy Turtle Network.
Hello, and welcome to Icons Academy, here on the Nerd Turtle Network. It's, of course, our Icons Assembled Edition actual play, the first part of our anthology season, and today is the first part of our two-part conclusion to the Academy storyline. We'll do it today, then we'll come back, I guess it's about a month. Be on December 12th for the wrap-up, and then we'll start the second part of the anthology in January. The still untitled second part. It's going to be in space, though. Alright. Was everybody here last time, or were we missing somebody last time?
I believe everyone was here.
I did not play hooky last time.
Let's see. That's right, because it was the assault on, the Starforger's base, but
We rescued Nicole.
as y'all travel through a tunnel under Central Park to the secret base. And yes, they had managed to kidnap Nicole, aka friendly fire or unfriendly fire. She still hasn't decided. We'll save her decision for the big conclusion.
School year's almost over, Nicole. Come on.
So yes, you ran into the Starforger who Rigajig had an encounter with before. And of course the players have run into her before, just not these characters. You also ran into four, I guess you'd have to call them super soldiers, super powered mercenaries, you guess, because they had no identifying marks on them. But despite it being a squad of super strong Earth manipulators, your team seemed to go through them pretty good. At least the three that they were aware of. After the rescue, the Starforger, of course, escaped in her spaceship. And as you were busting Nicole and the Overseer, they had not taken his failure in the park very well, and had roughed him up and had him in prison too. But after that rescue, you had found out there was actually a fourth member of the team y'all had fought, who apparently had managed to spirit away with his compatriots. Now, Taylor, remind me, what all did Rigajig confess to the principal at the end of the last
He
session?
totally ratted us out.
Roughly everything.
Yeah, we're totally busted. No longer are the seniors suspected of
So I
sneaking
admitted
out.
to telling the person from the other school that I and Lacuna were interested. But phrased it in such a way of like, if we ever need to go undercover in there, the sneaking out, that I wanted that to stop because I was tired of making sure no one was hurt during it. That the blood robot was the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
That we had seen plenty of death. Like a lot of death.
Ah, yes, because he was going to have to get some school counselors. That's what I remember commenting.
That's
on.
right.
I think it was roughly just the accumulation of all the bad things that happened to us. And that I just wanted them to stop for a minute and give me a break.
And you were just tired.
Needs a hug and a hot cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
I would then pour a monster in it because that makes it a delicious chocolate mousse that you can scoop up with a fork or spoon.
That sounds disturbing for some reason.
It tastes pretty good. Sorry to say.
Alright, so anyway. So yes, over the next couple of days, the seniors are giving, basically, your entire class getting dirty looks from the seniors. Most of your class is giving Rigajig those same dirty looks. Indispensable to everybody. I knew he was a snitch.
I will look Indispensable in the face. I solved every single one of your problems. Shut your mouth. I'm tired of this. I just want to go to class.
That almost causes a fight when you mouth off about it. But some of your other classmates kind of get in between you. You know, Eric and Molly are kind of like, whoa. Where Stonehenge is kind of sitting in the back going, you know, he's in over to one side quoting the Godzilla, you know, that last Godzilla movie. Let them fight.
It's like, hey man, he's had enough. He's had enough.
But then some of the faculty comes by, so no actual fight really breaks out. So a few weeks pass, relatively uneventfully. You know, your classes, your training. You know, you have another round of combat training. Indispensable is really wanting a rematch with you. You know, despite having won the last one. But it's not his team that you wind up going up against. You're scheduled to go up against Molly's team, which was her, Kayla. Let's see. Who else was on her team? There's so many students to keep up with. Oh no, Kayla was not on her team. Kayla was on Eric's team, that's right. Molly, Corkscrew, Pinball, and Swarm. Corkscrew being the other spinning guy in your class. Oops. But sorry, that had to open a couple somethings. We were doing all that chatting beforehand. I forgot to get my GM screen loaded up. All right. So, you know, y'all get ready to go up against them. Y'all watch some of the other classes fight. As you're taking your positions on the gymnasium floor, you an alarm begins to sound. Independence Ray, or as y'all know him, Mr.
Gearhart.
Yes, Gearhart.
Isn't it?
Had to get to that page. Mr. Gearhart kind of ushers you all back into the classroom, which you know is adjacent to the gymnasium that y'all use for combat training. He gets on intercom system. Well, on his desk is like a kind of your typical office phone. It's kind of that extended phone with the little speaker thing. You know, he gets on, calls in. Tells you all there's a incident happening outside. Some sort of constructs are trying to get into the campus. You know, just basically everybody locked down here. School security will handle it. You know, just kind of talk quietly amongst yourselves. Indispensable immediately kind of wants to, go out there.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Can I go to the restroom? No, you can wait. Then he slides over and starts talking to Kayla until she finally gets frustrated with him. No, it's not dark enough in here for me to teleport you somewhere. Which has Mr. Gearhart, paying extra special close attention to Indispensable for the rest of class. But by the time class is over, the alert seems to be off. There's a very, pretty Principal Rowland comes over, makes an announcement, hey, somebody tried to get through security, kept them out, because of course we've been upgrading security all through the year. Nothing to be concerned about. But there's the faculty seems to be real subdued the rest of the day. By that evening, rumors are going around that while a couple of the constructs tried to actually get in and got fried by the security fields, and rumor is one of them got pulled down into a flaming pit by inhuman arms. Everybody assumes that's Wolfwitch's contribution to the security system. But apparently, there was also a construct holding basically like a big whiteboard with a sign on it, with writing on it.
Awesome.
Yes, very, very, very low tech solution. Basically, they're demanding, I believe it was 10 of the students. Yeah. Excuse me, 11 of the students. Or she will assault the city. It's a little handful of people to save a whole bunch of people. To the Starforger, that seems to be a very logical sort of conclusion.
Seems a bit harsh.
As per the way she usually talks about such things, she's not going to hurt anybody. She's just going to, borrow a little blood from the children until they get past that peak age, and then she'll let them go. They'll be plugged into virtual reality. It won't even be like they're losing out on any life. The faculty is like not telling any of y'all this.
Just a rumor that
Some of the seniors caught wind of it, and it's gotten around since then.
Rigajig is visibly angry at almost all times now.
As you watch the news, there is a news article on, or a segment on the fact that the police are going into kind of an alert status. They're really just saying that there have been some, terrorist type threats. That people shouldn't be overly concerned. It's just precautionary. A few heroes from outside the city have been seen patrolling around, including Dynaman from Seattle, who's just recently kind of, back fighting fit. But that's kind of what the rest of your classmates are talking about anytime they're together.
the staff won't like it. But what if we put together a group of 11 volunteers and handed ourselves over to her so we could take her out?
Indispensable likes where your head is at. He don't like that. He doesn't like the thought of just handing himself over. Though, if she's going to blow up the city or something, I guess you got to do what you got to do. But how do you get in touch with her? But as soon as you talk about,
We-
as soon as Putty brings up volunteering, Stonehenge is like, not it.
We could try low tech and just use our own whiteboard in one of the dorm windows once we've got our volunteers. She's got to be watching the school.
You see a few people nodding. Mischief Maker, one of the Jasmines. She kind of nods along with Stonehenge. Yeah, that's kind of risky. I mean, I'm all for putting the boots to them if they show up, but yeah, I don't know about it. I just handed myself over to somebody, and essentially their entire team, other than let's see, is that Stacy is shooting? Oh no, Amber is Starlight GM. Stacy is shooting star. So yeah, pretty much Stonehenge's entire team's like, yeah, not us. You need a backup team to come get you once you know where she's at. Well, they're happy to be an assault team that goes in, but they ain't volunteering to be like guinea pigs. You know that she's gonna have something that can hold us. Whoever goes in there.
Blessed Thorn also doesn't think that this is a good time for us to be handing ourselves over to the enemy. It's been a rough week, and I do not believe that we are ready for such a sacrifice. I think we need to.
Well, the idea isn't to sacrifice ourselves. The idea is to bring her to us, so we can take her out, or to get us to her.
Kayla goes, "I'll do it," and you immediately have Eric and Molly like, "No, you won't."
Really sounds like a great way to get most of us, either killed or captured for real.
And the major
Amber-
problem is,
Oh, go ahead.
is it a specific count of 11, or does she want specifically 11 specific students? Because she has our blood. Well, all your blood, most of your bloods. So she could be looking for a specific metagene, like specific powers that can work with her metal, which would then be very, very dangerous.
And the trick is you don't know that level of detail. What I've told you of the rumor is really all you know at this point. You're going to have to find some kind of way to contact her if you want more information.
If we
Or we could pump a really dumb staff member for information.
That's also a possibility.
do we have any dumb staff members? I would hope that they would not be in the business of hiring dumb people.
I don't know about dumb. The coach is not an intellectual, particularly. Coach Brody.
I don't know. The coach is a sweet guy. I don't want to get him in trouble.
Yes, he will just get fired and replaced with a true ball buster. I believe that's what the Americans say.
I have never heard that sentence spoken in my life, and I've been in America my entire life.
I saw it on the HBO.
Maybe it's like a regional thing. I mean, I've heard it, but I don't know where you're from originally. So
The Sopranos, I believe it was.
Who was letting you watch The Sopranos?
But wouldn't that really make it an Italian thing?
Maybe it's a New Jersey thing.
So if you're concerned about if you hope to bring the Starforger to us for a fight, perhaps we should call her bluff. She sends her forces to attack the city. That is a risk, certainly, but we do have the heroes of the city already on patrol. And if there is to be a fight, wouldn't it be best to have it in a venue where all our guardians and allies be on our side of the fight?
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know if there's I know we're all like together in a group with like lacooners. I'm trying to like
bright eyed and beautiful.
I think Blessed Thorn wants to kind of like, without calling her out by name, stress the point that we still haven't really. Oh, I don't know. Have we taken the time in this past week or so to check on Lacuna? I know I know Blessed Thorn wasn't present when she lost control and killed somebody, but
Oh yeah, how is Lacuna dealing with that?
surely I've picked up on that. I would have picked up on what occurred there by now.
I'd say Lacuna's been extremely quiet and probably a lot more distant than she was even when she first got to the pool.
Yes.
You've also she would also have had some required counseling.
Sure.
Though truthfully, you've all probably had to talk to.
Yeah, I think we've all had to have that at this point.
Yeah. Now, I guess the first question, it does. Yeah, I feel like Blessed Thorn would probably feel some concern or guilt that maybe she might be partially to blame for what happened since she wasn't there to begin with, all because she didn't want it. She was literally feeling too prickly to be in a group scene, and look what happened.
She leaves them alone one time, and what do they get themselves?
So does it? Would anyone? I don't know. If anyone kind of like gives the cold shoulder to Blessed Thorn, I think she may be inclined to interpret that as, some like kind of harshness for letting the team down, even if they don't say it outright.
Yeah, the way Lacuna's responding, it sounds like that might be something that Blessed Thorn could take that way, but completely misinterpreting it.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's probably likely.
Because we're teenagers with problems.
Because it's much easier to just assume the worst than actually communicate and find out and have that confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Something we never do as adults, of course.
No, we're always open and honest with our feelings.
Very direct.
I like to think I'm better about it now than I was as a teenager.
Yeah.
And I would hope we'd be at least better.
Better does not mean good, but better.
Yeah. Baby steps.
Mm-hmm. By the time I'm 99, I'll have it down.
But in regard to the question about volunteering for tribute, Blessed Thorn step.
We could. I mean, if anyone's open to that idea at all, we might. I don't know if the staff is going to go for it, but we could get them in on it too.
And just was like, no, that wouldn't work. They're not even telling us about this. They're going to shut it down first chance they get.
Well, at least we won't have to worry about everyone knows that we're down for the cause, including in ways we're not supposed to be as youths. But I don't know who amongst the faculty do we think might actually be game for bringing us into the fold? Honestly, that might be Landshark.
I think he would be the most likely. Let's just call him a little soft-headed and soft-hearted.
Soft-hearted, absolutely.
Let's
Gerhardt's
see.
too much of a. He's definitely too much too straight-laced for this. No pun intended. Wolfwitch.
Then we bribe him.
We bribed him.
The man is banned from super teams. We'll just tell him he can be on our team when we become adults.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, you're talking
Hold on,
about.
that's right. Though technically he is still considered a member of Spear at the moment.
Yes.
He's just on special assignment.
Yeah, he's got that sweet Spear validation going on right now. He's still riding off that
Mhm.
that high.
And more importantly, he has the stipend.
More importantly, indeed.
Hey, if they're paying me, it's got to be legit.
Yeah. He's never been paid for this nonsense before. It's got to be a weird feeling. So,
But let's see. Miss Fowler probably wouldn't be down for it, but then she's also not super in any way.
I mean, how about
I think Wolfwitch could probably make some hard choices. I feel like.
As her former player, I can say she might be up for it, just because her sense of right and wrong is a little bit more flexible than most people.
And she's old enough to remember when kids your age were getting married.
Right.
It's true.
We would need snickerdoodles in hand, but
She just walk in shaking the cookie box. What do you want?
Should do it for
would you
two
do it for
sneakers.
two
It's like
snickerdoodles?
joke.
But can we at least agree not to put ourselves out as bait anymore? I think I feel like maybe we're done with the whole bait scene for a little while.
So yeah, y'all are all chewing the fat. You go over the plans. Everybody agrees. Yeah. Principal Roland, Vice Principal.
Rook.
Thank you. I completely blanked her name. Vice Principal Rook
Oh,
are
yeah.
definitely not on
Yes.
the list of those to talk to.
Well, Roland and Rook are, that's not confusing anyway.
No.
But them, Gearhart are too a little too
On
much
the
too
other-
rule oriented.
On the other hand, is it not true that Vice Principal Brooke brought her two own? I've heard rumors that she brought her own two daughters as her proteges, and she's willing to put up her own into the fight. Would she really blanch at putting us into the line of fire? We who are not her flesh and blood, literally out of her womb. That's just a rumor I heard.
Indispensable nod. Yeah.
These
And calls
superheroes
Whippet,
are
and he specifically calls Whippet by name. She. In the video they had of the fight against the Vasiliev, the chick in the black and purple with the whip. That was one. That's one of her kids.
Wait, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So does she have whip powers, or is she just that good with the whole?
I think it's just the whip
Dang.
thing. I don't.
Good lord!
I don't know what you got to be into to be that into a whip, but
I'm no one to judge.
Yes, her and Glowstick, they're sisters. They are sisters.
Wow.
I feel like that was stuff we're not supposed to know.
And this was kind of try. I don't know. People in the community know. I don't know.
Yeah, and you just blabbed it to people not in the community, and you call me a snitch.
We're all in the community.
Only in the
Or going to be.
only in the context of trying to figure out who might be game.
It's not like I know
Which
who
of
the Rook
teachers
is or
would be.
anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really highly, suspect. You just specifically said the Rook.
I don't know who the Rook is, as far as under the mask. She even wears the costume around here.
All I say is that I suspect she may not be as tenderhearted about sending youngsters such as ourselves
Yeah,
into battle.
You really have them kind of rethinking that now. Yeah, we might be able to talk her into it. Anybody's got a child sidekick. I mean, you know.
I think I'm going to go see if I can get one of the automatons to work. They've probably got them in the labs.
Oh.
I'm going to be most familiar with the materials they're made out of. Maybe I can get in there with Professor...
Doctor. Device.
The
Dr. Professor...
Dr. Daniel Weiss.
Vice.
Dr. Professor Weiss.
Is that supposedly Vice as in grip Vice? Is it V-I-S-E or is it Vice as in Vice Squad?
I'm not sure how I spelled it. V-I-C
V-I...
is how I spelled it.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the old papers, they always refer to him as Dr. D. Weiss.
Oh, okay. I see. Is it lowercase d? D-Vice?
Oh, no, it's his first name.
Gotcha.
He was if you've ever played or ever been aware of, White Wolf did a game called Adventure. Or, excuse me,
sure.
it had an exclamation point. Adventure! Which was, pulp era stuff. Dr. Daniel Weiss was a character I played in a one-shot.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Thalhammer is like the only person. Well, I think that Batwolf, which is immortal or quasi-immortal, so she's pretty old too. But the two of them and Device are probably the oldest people on campus. Oh yeah, and Hestia. Never mind, there's a lot of old people running around this game.
We could hit Hestia up.
Everybody kind of stops. The lunchroom lady?
She's literally a god.
Yeah, the immortal lady that serves us food. I'm sure she can break through anything. I'm sure she can help us as long as we say our family is in danger. We are the family.
Her powers may be all food-based, but, I'm pretty sure she could kick all of our asses if she really wanted to.
Somewhere in this conversation, Amber has excused herself and left. She comes back a little bit later with shoot, what was his name? Anthony? Was it Anthony that she was hanging out with?
Sounds right.
That does sound right. One of them was after an Anthony. It was unofficial, wasn't it?
Yeah,
their relationship status, yeah.
Yeah, they were hanging out pretty heavy there for a while. A little bit less right after the vampire attack, but then they seem to be tied again.
Yeah. And it is Anthony for sure.
Yeah, but she shows back up with him because this has just been a discussion amongst the freshmen, and he's a sophomore. But he listens to you and he goes, okay, he'd be willing to help out. Not the volunteering part, but
right. Yeah.
But he can do tracking spells and stuff if y'all had to go somewhere. He can mark you so he could track you wherever you went.
I mean, perhaps we try to convince the teachers to bring us in, given that one of our own has a pretty close connection with the Starforger. Do we know? I forget. To what extent do we know about Rigajig's connection with the Renegade Starforger?
The second the Starforger saw him, she referred to him as Subject 6411 or 64138.
And everyone in that group knows my armor isn't yellow. Because I ripped the fake arms off to show it was the red color that the Starforger metal is.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
But I guess
he cooks in some cheap stuff to make it look different.
I would ask. I guess I would ask Rigajig then. Would you feel comfortable if we took whatever connection you have with that Starforger and parlayed it into getting us a place at the table, or a place into the fold? I'll keep using that phrase. In a response to the forger.
I'll be comfortable with whatever option puts me within fist range. I am not a good person to ask about this right now.
Yeah, you're seeing
Champ.
with the range. That's true.
If I saw her ship, I would begin punching it till it stopped working.
Indispensable speaks up. Well, I guess that means you're volunteering to be one of the ones to go in then.
I can't because she knows I want to kill her.
Yeah,
I'm
you definitely be part of the response squad, not the.
The moment she sees me, she'll know it's a trap.
Charles, aka Geist. All right, but how are we going to get in touch with her initially? I mean, do we want to go to the council? Do we want to go to the faculty first? Do we want to talk to Coach? Do we really want to bring the rookie in? How we want to do this?
I think Coach is our best bet. And, I mean, we can probably be pretty much honest with him. You know, we could even go with the angle that, you know, Rigajig's likely to do something anyway. And it's better if we're all involved together with the faculty as a backup to help keep us out of trouble.
They'd be more likely to keep us as the backup, but at least we'd be in the field.
Right. Yeah, it's just that, you know, she's not going to come to collect faculty. They're too old.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me.
One of the kids like, don't experiment on anybody over 30.
So we approach Landshark.
He's not over 30, but still old to us.
All right, so y'all go to the gym. Not the underground gymnasium like where y'all have y'all's combat training, but the above ground one. Now, it's soon enough after class that he's still there. You know, you walk in and he's got the big push broom or push mop kind of thing going around the gym floor. You know, there's a cleaning facility, the cleaning faculty that will do that, but for some reason, you know, it makes him feel like he's the coach if he's doing it.
Coach Brody.
Curtis, I'm going to let you go ahead and do Landshark.
Okay.
Be as easy or hard to talk into this as you think you should be. So who is approaching Landshark? Is it Blessed Thorn?
I think so, since I seem to have found myself in the position of talking us into this plan. So sure, I'll take the lead on this. Coach Brody.
Hey Thorn, what are you doing down here?
Is it just me, or is the whole team here?
All right, how many of y'all are going with?
Putty would go, but if I'm doing Landshark, then he should probably be silent.
Yeah, that might be awkward.
You're in the lead.
Let's see, who would go with? Molly would probably go with you. Yeah, is there anybody else you would particularly want with you to help out?
Let's say not Lacuna. If she's
Well, all right then.
Well, I'm just thinking about her given her precarious emotional state. Plus, she's been even more withdrawn than usual. So, I suspect I might just assume that she wouldn't be up for this in any event. Although certainly not going to keep the secret from anyone.
Now,
any of the students.
Mischief Maker offers to go with you, and you know she can
Live up to her
people's
name?
emotions.
Oh, that. Well, if it comes to that, but I'm thinking that Coach Broad would be the one least likely to need that nudge, but I won't tell no to her if she wants to come along.
Okay. All right. So when you go with
She
Molly.
understands that that would be a last resort sort of thing.
You go with Molly
Her
and
pushing.
Mischief Maker.
And yeah, and Putty. I think. Oh well, Putty's the silent partner in all this, but
Yes.
yeah. And I'd also assume that Rig's working on the automatons right now, right? Isn't that correct?
Do what?
Taylor.
Is Rig still planning on working the automatons?
Yeah, I plan on going to Dr. Device, see what I can see if I'm allowed to do anything with the automatons.
All right. So when this little group breaks off to go to the gym, Rujit goes down to piddle in the lab, which he's had access to Dr. Weiss's lab for a little while now. Because he was looking to reverse engineer that stuff. The mosquito drones that came in.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so y'all walked in. Landshark had asked Thorn what she was doing there.
Right. So we students have been talking, and we are concerned about the ultimatum that has been presented by the renegade Starforger. And look, I know we have are we officially in trouble? Have we been like in detention for the night patrols? Has there been any official reprimand yet?
You've gotten a stern talking to, and you've been having to go to the counseling, and there seems to be some debate over what else they want to do.
Okay, so I understand that we are in the process of being reprimanded for the excursions. I will say, but it is clear now through the threats levied by the forger that this matter is beyond a matter of curfew. Now the city is at stake through no fault of our own for the Starforger. No, wait, this. Yes, in fact, how does she phrase this? What do we? Let me get my thoughts together. What would she have? Basically, what she wants to do is say that, if anything, those excursions have shown that we can be an asset, and given that one of our own number has been do I want to say formerly victimized? That maybe that is awfully blunt wording.
His eyes. Are you going to say that?
I think. Yeah.
She's always been fairly blunt.
Yeah. I think since I can't come up with any other way of putting it, let's just say that one of our own has been personally.
You definitely get his attention when you use that word.
Victimized by that forger as a former experiment.
Certainly a trigger for him.
Right. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That we have just as much of a stake, if any, and we've already proven ourselves. Even if we did it against the code of conduct, we have nevertheless proven ourselves, and we have the capability, and we have the, dare I say, earned a spot to be part of the defense and against the forger, and to be on the front lines and not just hidden away in a classroom.
Mischief Maker nods her head. Yeah, Coach. Haven't you ever wanted to prove you were a hero?
Oh.
He'll look, across his arms and look kind of sternly. He's like, look, I know how you kids talk, and I know you all have seen my Oh God, now I'm drawing a blank on the word. My brain's getting stupid. My mugshot from years ago when I got busted for being a vigilante and destroying a city block. But that's you can't just go off half cocked on your own, and you're too young. You're really sure you want to do this?
Well, I appreciate your concern, but surely you did not have the benefit of the training that this academy provides at the time. So I don't blame you at all for that unfortunate and fluke mishap of your powers. But we've had training, including your guidance, Coach.
Well, that's true.
Mischief Maker goes, yeah, you should be confident in your own on how good a trainer you are.
So, what exactly are you thinking about doing?
Well, the forgers already threatened to attack the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, if they don't turn
Landshark
over.
would have the full details of what went down. Yes, she has threatened to attack the city. Just kind of property damage and civilian casualties. I mean, she's just kind of threatening to hurt a lot of people. She specifically wants the 11 to be freshmen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is something Landshark would know that has not disseminated amongst the rumors.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She has made guarantees that the 11 won't actually be harmed, and once they pass a certain age threshold, that she will release them.
We know that the heroes of the city have been under increased patrols. We're guessing that they must be seeking out where the Starforger is currently, and we want to help with that. Does that sound fair to? Does that sound like what the team would have wanted to? How they would have wanted to get involved?
To be part of the patrol?
Yeah, unless.
Well, Molly speaks up, because one thing y'all were talking about was turning yourselves over to her as a kind of a trap.
Okay, yeah, I thought we had, or at least, I think Thorn would have wanted to top that particular idea down because she doesn't really relish the whole bait thing anymore. She'd rather be a little more proactive. But if everyone agrees with Molly, then I guess we'll.
Well, Molly brings it up as one of the things they discussed.
Okay.
And because he likes to talk, and you can hear him like thinking out loud, and he's like, the Starforger, she's already victimized one of your classmates. She's obviously evil, and she's wanting to wreak havoc on the city and harm a lot of innocent people in the process. If we could control where she's going to be, we might be able to keep. I can't believe I'm saying this. We might be able to keep the collateral damage to a minimum.
And we can stop her from ever victimizing somebody again. That comes from Molly, though, not Mischief Maker.
Yeah.
There's no snideness or slidness to it.
And he takes a second, and it's almost like a computer resetting. He's just quietly thinking. He's like, you know what? Let me run this by Wolf Witch.
Yeah, if we're going to patrol this today anyway, but wouldn't it be best to do it under your supervision?
That makes sense. And he's like, honestly, I'm not really a plan guy. Stuff. My plans are usually like straight out of the Scooby-Doo cartoons. But Let me, I trust Wolf Witch. I trust Independence Ray too, but he's a little too straight laced for this, I think.
Mr. Baker, he's got a stick up his backside. That's what he's got.
It's a military thing. Let me check with Wolf Witch and make sure that, we've got several people on board for this.
That'll be great, Coach.
Because we need to stop the Starforger. I'm on special assignment from Spear, and that means stopping evil.
We would all appreciate that greatly.
I'm on special assignment, and that means stopping evil.
You hear Mischief Maker under her breath, as defined by the U.S. government.
Awkward.
No, I just appreciate the special assignment to stop evil, unlike the general assignment of stop evil you've had the entire time.
No.
No, now I'm especially stopping evil because I'm being paid to do it.
But I'm pretty sure the E in Spear was educational, so that covers him being at the school.
Yeah. And, sharks can smell evil even if it's from space.
that's a quality right there.
All right, Zach.
Yes, sir.
How would Wolf Witch respond to Land Shark's overture?
Of bringing the kids into the situation?
Yes. Considering it sounds like they're already going to put themselves in the situation anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like they're already involved.
She would prefer to have at least some level of supervision over whenever they do something very, very stupid. Because, she's old enough to have seen this before. Or this pattern of behavior before. So, yeah, she's gonna give it the thumbs up.
Okay.
It's like, I don't trust myself to babysit these kids to, not do something stupid. It can't just be me.
I'm the worst parent.
Oh, you don't give yourself enough credit. Shark, you are a very, very wise in your own particular way person.
It comes from living through lots of mistakes.
Oh, those are like. I have never made those before.
Alright, so let's cut to Rigajig. Alright, so you've gone down there, you've got the samples of her technology.
Well, is Dr. Device there?
Yes. He is, in fact, going over some debris, some wreckage that you have not seen before. You recognize the material some of the stuff's made out of, but...
I shouldn't have put it in your mouth.
Howdy, Dr. Device.
Oh, shoot, what's Ricky Jig's name?
Siegfried.
Ah, Siegfried. And he sort of turns himself so like he's physically kind of blocking what's on the table. Oh, what brings you by the lab?
I'm here to pull a fast one over you.
Oh, well, that's going to be unfortunate. I'm quite clever.
Yeah, that's why I'm going for the straightforward approach.
All right.
You know we're gonna. I sit down. You know we're gonna get involved in this.
I suspected you would try, yes.
Considering the fact we've succeeded the last 11 billion times we've tried, please just let us in on this one so no one gets hurt.
What is it that you want to do? What is it that you're wanting in on? Specifically. And he's not bothering to hide what's on the table now.
Finding her. You've got all the technology here. There's communicators somewhere in these. I know she does communication with them directly. She can speak through them. So I know there's a backwards way. We could either do it with magic or with science. I don't know which one's faster, but I'm coming to you because other students are going elsewhere. Do you need something fixed? Do you need something molded? Do you need something moved to get one working?
Help me. He turns to the contraption he's working on. Help me dig through this. This is one of the automatons that tried to enter the campus. Two of them tried to enter the campus. This is the only one that the remains were still in this reality. While a third one stood back with a sign. If you're here, I'm assuming rumors have gotten around.
They wanted 11 of us.
Yes. Of you freshmen specifically.
Oh, thanks. That was information I didn't already have. Already pulling a fast one on you.
Yes, indeed. So y'all dig through the trashed robot. You find what you think is the broadcast and receiver unit. It's not currently broadcasting anything. With a little work, you can get a battery working where you could send a signal through it. Dr. Vice tells you, you'd have to, if you get her into a long enough conversation, you might be able to run around and triangulate her coordinates. But you could definitely send a binary signal through it to communicate. It's not like you're picking up a radio and talking into it, but you could send through a pattern that her system would recognize or should recognize. Every kind of computer device can speak binary, so. So Dr. Weiss wants to know: are you wanting to patrol with us and hoping to use this to track her down, or what plan are you students coming up with? Let me put it that way.
Well, the first plan was just have 11 of us volunteer and then just start from there and track the students themselves as they go up.
Yeah, I suppose we could put tracking devices on you.
Yeah, but she's on a spaceship. Do we have a spaceship?
Spear has spacecraft. The Primus did, but I don't know where his has gotten to.
It would essentially be a car chase, but in space, potentially, because she wouldn't need to stay on Earth. As far as I know, her bases have been ruined, and the only stuff she has is on her ship for the moment, until she sets up elsewhere. But if she's threatening us, if she's threatening an entire city, it's because she can't be stealthy anymore.
That's the conclusion that we had come to. That she's getting frustrated with the failures, and it's a how did Tim put it? Hail Mary.
Yeah, the all or nothing play.
Mm-hmm. Tim likes his sports ball analogies.
I don't know. Viridium she doesn't have a massive amount of Viridium that is magical enough. We could potentially do a magical trace on it while communicating to her. But that would require someone with better magic than me, and also someone with better technology than me. Is Wolfwitch allowed in this lab?
She's never actually been here. No, I'll take that lie back. Researching the Viridium, she had been here before. Yes, she's been in here to help me with the Viridium before, given that it's got magical properties.
So we've got a working communicator. Do we want to go talk to her now? To see if her half of the operation could be possible?
Yes, let's go to her office rather than. I was thinking about simply calling her to see if she'd come by, but If we hurry, she might still be here. So he hops up, locks the lab behind you. Not with a key. It looks like a little car thing. Bloop, bloop.
Thank you for falling for my tricks, sir.
Ah, well, he was just too clever for me.
It happens to all of us once.
Oh no, trust me, lad. When you're as old as I am, it's happened. It's happened to me. I've had it happen. I've made it happen to other people many, many times. I can tell you stories of just when Tim was a child.
Tim?
Principal Roland.
Ah. Is his middle name Stuart?
I'm not entirely certain.
You've known him since childhood without knowing his middle name?
Well, he was teenish, I guess, when I met him.
Ah.
Probably your age or so.
Oh, then you could bring up like direct examples of him disobeying authority to go capture bad guys.
Oh yes, sneaking across enemy lines, coming back with the a Nazi logbook. Yes, it was.
Oh yeah, y'all were
shenanigans back in the war.
Completely forgot y'all were World War II.
Well,
Dr.
Weiss was Principal Roland does not look that old.
Just slap the fuck out of it.
Was that Anna?
Which means he ages slowly?
Oh yeah. I'm not sure how much of this I should be saying, so we'll just stop here.
Oh, see? You stopped me from tricking you into too much information. That comes with the wisdom of age. I see it happening directly in front of me. I bet if I was talking to Land Shark, you'd just blab the whole thing.
Yes. Dear Brody. Or dear Bruce. He's very kind-hearted man. Very good with children. I think he's truly found where he belongs with his job here.
Are you saying that because he's less likely to accidentally level a city?
Indeed.
Fair enough. Insane.
All right. Well, you say insane, but yeah, y'all would end up going to Wolf Witch's place where she's still there. Probably with Blessed Thorn's group, as well as they've probably been called in, as well as Land Shark's there. In fact, they've probably called in. Let's see, Blessed Thorn be there. Molly's there. They would probably call in Eric, Stacy Montgomery, aka Shooting Star, and Indispensable. Basically, the more or less leaders of each of the teams. Y'all's team has not really had a leader, but since Blessed Thorn was taking the lead on this, she's the one that's there for that. So yeah, when Riggajig and Dr. Weiss walk in, there's like already a squad there, hip deep in planning.
Oh, good. We succeeded on every front.
Oh yes, I see what you mean by other students were going other places.
Well, I made sure they didn't trust me, so they'd all go do their own thing and succeed at that. Because I'm so tired of them asking me to do everything.
Indispensable rolls his eyes. You can't see it through his gold-tinted goggles, though. But you can tell by the head motion he's rolling his eyes. All right. So at this point, what plan do y'all come up with? You've got some of the faculty here that will help you on anything that doesn't just seem completely suicidal. But ultimately, it's up to y'all. Do you want to do the turn yourself in? Do you want to communicate with her and ambush her when she's going to turn herself in? Or when she shows up thinking you're going to give up? Do you want to actually give up and just go in with like tracking spells and tracking devices on you to follow her back? How are y'all doing this? Or any other thing y'all can come up with.
Option 2 and 3 seem like probably the most most workable options.
Which ones are those options again?
All right. The ideal had come up of Rigajig wanting a device to try to either track her down or lead her somewhere, is my understanding. The first ideal presented was take 11 volunteers, turn themselves in, and then try to bust out from the inside while, the rest of the class comes in as an assault group. Anthony had offered to put like a tracking spell on whoever was going in, so you could follow them. I'm not sure if there was another major option that had come up yet or not, other than just assisting the heroes in patrol or something.
I do like Rig's idea, Rigajig's idea of locating them through the technology of theirs that we have. The better we're able to take the fight to them, then I say that's the way to go.
We could set up more or less a wiretap. I don't know whether it be magical technology, and then just tell her there are 11 students willing to give up for you to not damage the city. And I could spin a yard wanting to be an assistant to her or something, because she knows I'm vastly interested in Viridium.
That was actually something that you had planted a seed for last session, if I recall.
Yeah, because I was talking about halfway wanting to work with her, if not for the fact I disliked her so much, and then gave my phone number to the robot.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot about the phone number.
Dude. Well?
In fact, Dr. Weiss will bring up at this meeting that because y'all's phones go through the school, work through the school system. The school system had blocked a couple of incoming calls to your phone. Or incoming texts, excuse me, incoming texts.
I will say for Blessed Thorn's part,
can we let them through?
He pulled out a device, and and then they pop up, and yeah, it's her trying to get in touch with you. If feeling you out to see if you're really interested in like an apprenticeship. Apparently, the Starforgers do the old school apprenticeship sort of thing. What you have figured out so far on your own has impressed her. And if you really want to, a good way to show her you're really serious would be to help her acquire some of your schoolmates.
Oh shit.
Again, she goes into the yes, they're not actually going to be hurt. Yada yada yada. I'll turn them back over. I'm not a monster. I just need to borrow them in their blood for a little while. The same kind of spiel she was giving you in the lab, and that she's giving you all those other characters in last season.
This became a much easier yard to spin.
Yeah, I will say that Blessed Thorn's reluctance to expose themselves is primarily due to her concern for Lacuna. But this sort of plan, I feel confident about Rig's ability to, protect himself without. Well, actually, I wonder if I could. I know he's got a lot of emotional investment and pent-up anger, but she's willing to trust that he can keep that in line more than she's willing to trust that Lacuna could fight against, the hormonal bloodlust of imposed upon vampire condition, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I'm actually kind of liking this plan, especially now that I know that there's already been some kind of overtures. I just hope that is in fact a bluff and not a real triple cross. But I don't think. I mean, given how angry he's been, I really feel confident that that's not what's going on here. Or so I think.
All right, so can Kayla move through the air in shadows?
Dr. Weiss goes over to get to the intercom. It calls into the to the dorms. So in both freshman dorms, everybody winds up in the lounge area on the phones talking to the group doing the planning. So y'all can talk to anybody basically. Kayla's like, what do you mean move through the air? I move through shadows.
Right, but like there will be shadows in her ship.
Oh, you mean can I hit a moving target? Sure, once I've located it, I can look through the shadow and the shadow moves and my view just moves with it. And then I can step through, yeah.
So we could convince her to do because she already knows where the school is. We can let her land, pull automatons out as a defensive measure outside of the school grounds. We can step outside of the school grounds, get in the ship, and we can have literally the heaviest hitting team imaginable with Kayla on the side to just enter into the ship.
Across the intercom, you hear,
that could
you
work.
see Indispensable crack his knuckles, and you hear somebody cracking their knuckles like through the girl dorm's intercom. Dr. Weiss nods. We could put Landshark in charge of that assault team. And he kind of nods to Bruce. Bruce being a heavy hitter himself.
And it's been a while since he's really got to tear something up.
And if we have contacts with Dynaman as well, he can be on the ground. He should be able to chase the ship before takeoff completes if there's an emergency and he needs to just dive headfirst into it.
Indispensable nods. Yeah, Dad's pretty fast. He can probably keep up with it in the atmosphere at least. Now, if they get out and start doing like space travel, he's not that fast. And he's here in town, so
Yeah. Then if we can convince her to, we're told she can land and do what setup she needs to do to feel safe as we put the 11 people up. If she's gonna land directly outside the school, we need everyone else to know about it, which means speaking to the Rook and Roland.
Charles speaks up Geist through the intercom. Well, if you're going to convince her that you're betraying us to her, or for her, probably have her set up somewhere else, somewhere vacant without a lot of civilians around. And then we would go there. The volunteers could go there like you had tricked them or something. I mean, if you try to get her to come in right next to the school, she's probably going to be extra suspicious.
That would somewhat be the point, though, because she already knows where we are, and she's already been willing to just launch things at the school.
Mischief makers like, yeah, but we have her land by the school. How's the rest of the staff going to respond that isn't like in on the plan?
That's why I'm saying we'd have to talk to Rook and Roland about it. Because let's face it, our school defenses are currently in this conversation with us. The person that sets up the magic defense and the technological defense are literally here already talking to us.
Vice like, we might be able to talk Tim into it. I'm actually more confident we could get Rook. Of course, if we got Rook on our side and let her talk to Tim, she is very persuasive. I mean, even with non-violent means. So the discussion continues. Is that the plan you want to go with? Try to get the rest of the staff on board. Have her land outside. Have the 11 walk in, and then as soon as she takes off, have Kayla start teleporting in the assault team or something.
Sounds pretty workable, actually.
It does.
We would have some kind of tracking system ready for the people too, just to make sure.
Yes, Dr. Weiss is he thinks he's got an idea for some trackers that should be hard for her to detect. They would be dormant when y'all first walked in, and then after a specified amount of time, they become active. And they should be very hard for her to detect while they're dormant.
There's also the practical of just saying, we'll give you the 11, but you have to work in this specified area for us to make sure the children are safe. Because, she's under the assumption we'll agree to this. Because she doesn't understand humans.
That might work. It'd be unlikely that she would let us know where the facility was, but if we said she had to let you, for example, tour the facility and see how it was going to be set up,
and communicate that it was as spoken, I would be kind of an interim.
Yes. She might believe that more because it's not you betraying anybody. It's you getting what you want, but also serving the purpose of the go-between.
Making sure that the quote-unquote virtual reality has all of the teachings that they were going to get and everything in correctly. Essentially their virtual reality would be this school as we, lie to her.
Mm-hmm. Let me go to the Rook first. I know she'll still be on campus. She's not leaving while this little emergency is going on. If I could convince her, then I'm certain that the two of us could convince Tim, Principal Rowland. He gets some excuses himself. All right, so long story short, there's much chewing of the fat. Rook seems to be offended that she was not brought into this sooner, and she makes her displeasure known. But she thinks y'all have come up with a pretty solid plan. And then it's a couple of hours of convincing the principal to go along with it.
Surely she understands why we didn't come to her first, though.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean she
For the record, I wanted to bring her in from the beginning. Just saying.
You're indispensable. If Thorne brings that up, indispensable to one side, it's like brown noser.
Yeah, it's like, what a stuck up.
Wait a minute, you wanted to bring her in too.
Yeah, but I'm not sitting here telling her, oh yeah, I wanted to bring you in from the very beginning. That's a suck-up move. It's not as bad as a squealer, but
Lukuna's going to tap him on the shoulder, pull him a little closer.
Yeah, let me meet your mother and you'll know the definition of a fucking squealer.
It's like, it's like, good luck living that down, Rigga Squealer.
All right. So you go through the rest of the night hashing out the plan. Who is going to be your 11 volunteers? Team
I'll
4,
go.
which is Shooting Star, Mischief Maker, Stonehenge, and the editor, have flat out said, yeah, we ain't doing that part.
Yeah, it looks like Thorn and Putty are volunteers.
All right. Putty is a volunteer. Blessed Thorn is a volunteer. Rigajig is going in, but as the 12th man, so to speak, because he's going in as the in-between. Potential apprentice, whatever you want to call it. Kayla volunteers again. Everybody in the room shoots her down. Oh no, I take that back, because y'all already discussed what her part of the plan would be. Never mind. Friendly Fire doesn't say anything. She's maybe a little nervous after the last something. Screw says she probably wouldn't want me. And he kind of glances around as I'm a artificial being.
Probably wouldn't be able to get blood from Putty, but she doesn't know that, so.
He is at least a human or a superhuman, so.
Right.
Didn't the robot get your blood?
No, Putty wasn't there that day.
Oh, yeah.
He got my blood, though. Does that preclude me from volunteering?
I mean, the thing just said 11 freshmen.
Yeah, she hasn't been that specific yet, because y'all also haven't communicated with her yet. But,
All right, well.
let's see. Molly wants to be part of the assault team of heavy hitters.
Lacuna should probably be on the assault team too, just because her blood was taken and it's very clear, it doesn't seem to be usable.
Stonehenge volunteers for the assault team. Going in to bust stuff up, he's all for that. Indispensable assault team. Geist volunteers to be a volunteer, or, one of the volunteers. Well, it's 1, 2, 3.
Who else besides Molly, Lacuna, and Indispensable were assaulting? Oh, Stonehenge is assault.
Yeah. Stonehenge, Indispensable, Molly.
Lacuna.
Let's see. Eric volunteers to go either way. He'll do assault or volunteer, whatever's needed.
Looks like we're going to need more volunteers at this so far, at least.
Swarm offers to volunteer. She's on Molly's team. Pinball
so she's
volunteer.
Okay. Okay. Pinball.
Let's see.
That's 6 so far.
Larry volunteers. That's Quark. You know what? In Indispensable's entire team probably volunteers. Sub-Zero, Sum-Zero, and Starlight Jim. So that's 3 more. So what are we at now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
9.
Oh yeah. Corkscrew will do assault because, like he said, he's artificial, which explains why when he spins, he rotates at the waist like an action figure.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla is part of the assault team by virtue of being the delivery system. So that's got us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that 8? Have you got 8? I've got 8 so far.
I have 6 assault team members, so I may have missed some.
Oh, I'm talking about the volunteers, the 11 volunteers.
Oh, I have 9.
Blessed Thorn, Putty, Pinball, Swarm, Geist, Starlight Jim, Sum-Zero, and Quark.
And Eric. Is Eric?
Eric was willing to go either way, so yeah, we'll throw him in as a volunteer. Yeah. So that gets you at 9. When y'all get to 9, Friendly Fire goes ahead and volunteers because she sees y'all having trouble getting the full 11. So that's 10. And everybody starts looking at Stonehenge's team. We just need one more.
I can offer myself as a 12th or as an 11th for blood, just not large amounts, and I could probably still work it.
Finally, Shooting Star like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
So Lacuna is a volunteer after all.
Well, she's volunteer for the assault team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So she's still on assault. Okay.
Yeah, any of Team 4 will go in at the assault. It's the we're going in as the victim, potentially helpless, and none of them are down for. Shooting Star, finally volunteered just because, the plan needs to go down, so this heifer quits coming after us.
No,
She
just to
used
make
harsher
sure,
language than heifer, but it got called down by the teachers in the room.
just to make sure I haven't missed something. We don't see any connection between the Starforger and the villain school, correct?
That is correct.
Those are two separate.
So far,
things.
you have seen no connections there.
Okay.
The Overseer and the Alien were connected through the potential Black Ops former government agency.
Right.
So where it looked like there's 3 different people coming after y'all in the beginning, apparently it was just the 2.
Yeah. I didn't think there was a connection, but we kept talking about phone numbers and stuff and, passing it out. It's like, oh, wait, maybe I missed something.
All right, so y'all got y'all's team. Dr. Vasco's looks at Rigajig. Well, we were planning to do the high tech thing with the device, but I suppose you could just text her back.
Things work out that way.
It's a shame. It was going to be a beautiful little gizmo.
There'll be a use for it someday, sir.
Indeed. I'm still reverse engineering exactly how the technology works. Fascinating stuff. There'll probably be
So
your
I
generation
suppose-
has to finish the work, though.
Oh, I'm sure they'll find a way to put your brain in a robot or something.
I've thought about that, but I think I'd rather simply die clean. No offense to any cybernetics or artificial intelligences in the room. I mean, I'm currently 121. I've had a good run.
But yeah, I'll message my dear instructor back that after a long discussion and certain pressures, they allowed me to see these messages, and we can discuss, the specifics of the 11 that have agreed, so as for you to not, destroy city blocks.
She is delighted that somebody on this mud ball is finally listening to reason.
Now, I give the specification of there are 11 students, plus me as an interim, assistant / communication between the school and you to make sure these students are in the virtual reality, learning the things they need to be learning, and will be let go.
Okay. So you hashed out the plan as y'all had presented it. she had been planning to take the badge and leave the planet, but she does have one more facility. And using you as a go-between, she would be willing to let you be kind of keeping tabs on the conditions for the test subjects. She's not going to tell, basically you can't tell anyone where it is, or the deal will be null.
But this deal is more or less going to be on, quasi-official terms. You'll be holding up an end of a bargain, and as will we.
Yes. She said she's not going to hurt anybody. Nobody on this planet seems to want to believe her when she says that. They just keep tracking down her facilities and wrecking them. She thought working with the government or the government of that group, supposedly part of the government, was going to make things easier, but they just introduced all kinds of headache. She's not associated. She's not associated with them anymore.
I will also quietly inform her. Those were actually dissidents. They were part of the government until the government realized that they were wild and dangerous, and then wanted no part with them.
She had begun to think that might be the case.
You accidentally aligned with enemies of the government.
I know.
And mercenaries who will kill people on sight.
Well, that's generally what mercenaries do.
No, yes, I mean.
But yeah, though she would be fascinated to know how they created them. Or she'd be fascinated to get a hold of the test subject they used to create them. But
I would also
given small samples.
I would also, at some point like to discuss why you didn't just attempt to use their blood if possible, or why it was not possible to use their blood.
Oh yes, we'll get into that. They were not naturally born superhuman individuals.
Oh, so additives altered its useful. Okay.
Yeah, they were they would not have been completely useless, but it's she's trying to sort out what makes regular human blood is better for Viridium, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do with the metahuman or the superhumans, which is what one of the government guys were having her work on. Now they've got her interested in, could I craft superhumans? It's not exactly the sort of devices the Starforgers usually craft, but now she's kind of curious to see if she can forge people.
Interesting.
And there's certainly be a market for it in the wider galaxy.
And I will make reference to the fact that since I am a base human, if it works, I'd be in the market for it.
And then she goes through and she makes sure that all the volunteers are in the proper age bracket. Because her note did not specify sophomore. The age range it gave was the sophomores.
The sophomores, not freshmen?
I mean freshmen, excuse me, freshmen, I'm sorry. I was just about to say that she's not that familiar with the high school terminologies, but apparently neither am I. But yes, if the faculty's there, she will land the ship outside the or her little shuttle, will land either just outside the school grounds or in the school ground parking lot if they'll allow. If they'll shut down the security to allow it in. She will send some of her. It will be piloted by some of her robotic servants. Not that she doesn't trust you, but it's kind of a trust but verify. Let's ease into this relationship, make sure everybody's on the up and up.
And for that matter, I don't think we should lower the defenses of the school. I think we should meet her outside of those.
And she is fine with that. She will park the ship across the street. Or in the street. What does she care about traffic laws? Alright, so if y'all get that set up, because y'all had an all-night planning session, so, you arrange it for like the next afternoon, so everybody's got time to go and sleep. Classes are canceled the next day for the freshmen at least. They're not really spreading around what they're doing to the rest of the classes. They've asked all of you to stay silent about it. And Anthony's in the know, and he works with Wolf Witch to come up with to put tracking spells on all the. Kind of following Dr. Vice's thing is a tracking spell that has a delay before it kicks in. Since the Starforgers are familiar with magic, they might be able to detect it when it goes active. But they're, doing the best they can. Is there anything else any of your characters would want to do prior to her arrival or the ship's arrival tomorrow?
Make sure there are plenty of trees near wherever we leave.
Hmm?
Make sure there's plenty of trees wherever we end up having her land.
I'm picturing Blessed Thorn walking around and giving everybody packets of like sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. Here, stick these in your pockets.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a halfway bad idea.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
Wait, can Blessed Thorn feel plants? Like where they are?
I would
I might need to
argue
stop
that she
'cause
probably could.
If they're
I'm
within
gonna
range
just-
of her control, probably. She couldn't. I don't think she can like see through them or anything. At least not with that power stone.
No, but like if we had a very specific plant in bunches.
Something really weird, like I don't know, a dream date.
You know what Blessed Thorn needs to bring with her is a Venus flytrap.
Oh, right.
Feed me, Seymour.
Hit that with some plant growth. Just realized I haven't opened up my character sheet yet.
Well, it's all been role playing,
Right.
strategizing up to this point.
Strategery.
Strategery. All right, so everybody disperses. Anthony and Amber wander off together. Eric and Nicole go for a run.
How romantic.
Oh, well, from what you hear, once they're away from the staff, Team 4, along with Indispensable and who was a pinball, I guess. They're sneaking off somewhere. On campus, but you get the impression that Stonehenge may have like a stash of beer somewhere. Everybody's prepping in their own way. Roland calls in Night Terror and Dynaman. They're going to join the Night Terror is going to join with the assault squad. Though Tim assures Bruce he's still in charge of it. Where Dynaman is essentially going to be like backup in case she reneges and the ship like shoots for orbit or something. He's going to be already up in the stratosphere, kind of waiting to cut it off if it tries to flee the planet. So the next day rolls around. Everybody's there. The assault team is all grouped together in one of the gymnasiums.
One more thing, I think Blessed Thorn would like to have a heart to heart with Lacuna just to
Okay.
Talk about what
to talk about their
I
feelings.
heard about what about what you did at the concert.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened.
I let's see what. I'm glad you're still. I'm just glad that you're still up for this.
What do you mean still up for this?
Well, the fight with the Starforger that's coming up. Are you nervous? You scared? Are you worried about it happening again?
I'm numb, is what I'd say I am.
Hmm.
Do you want to know what I felt like after I did what I did, Thorn?
What? Tell me.
I felt the most satisfied I've ever been in my entire life. I loved every single second. Sorry, got something caught in my throat there. I can't ignore how everyone around me smells anymore. I can't ignore the pounding beat of their hearts when I'm close to them. I thought I can't just say, Siegfried has nice deodorant. I guess he's has cologne on today whenever he cuts himself
No.
or whenever he works up a sweat. No, I smell what's just under the skin. I can't ignore that about anyone anymore. I can't lie to myself anymore. And I hate that. I want to rip my friends' throats out with my teeth. And I hate that. I
That's
hate that it
harsh.
sounds delicious. That it sounds like what I was built to do.
Do you feel that way about me?
No,
And
actually.
yeah. That's why she asked about that, because she, given the, I guess, I don't know, the aversion that my essence it provokes in Lacuna.
It
So,
burns to be around you.
okay, well, that's not
But
great
you
either.
know what I like about that, Thorn?
Yes. What?
It means I have something else to focus on. That I can ignore. That I can just pretend like I don't want to run screaming away from it. Because you make my skin itch and my eyes burn. That's what I like about you, Thorn.
Oh, you're welcome. um, we could use this then, because I tell you this now. I promise, I'm not whatever whatever urges you have. They will not drive me away. I'll see you through this, no matter where it carries you, and we can. I'll just help you out however I can.
And for what it's worth, Putty shouldn't bleed. He just oozes mud.
Yeah. If Putty, if Lacuna's comfortable with Putty being in this conversation too.
I'm imagining this happening in y'all's dorm.
Yeah.
Since you probably went by her room, so.
Yeah, this is like a miscellaneous sidebar sort of thing.
I was just throwing that out there.
I don't know what's going on with Putty. It's just he smells weird, but like not unpleasant weird, kind of He's someone there, and he's a good dude. But I don't know. There's still that violent impulse.
Yeah, the only one of your classmates that probably doesn't trigger anything at all is Corkscrew, and you would understand why now because he's a robot.
Yeah.
But me, I'm literally covered in blood metal.
You're my favorite person out of the whole class.
I mean, really, that's why we're here, right? To learn how to cope with our beings and abilities. And, I just wanted to make, I don't, look, forget, whatever was going on with that guy, what is the likelihood that the world will miss him if he was working for the Starforger?
Someone's going to miss him. He had friends, maybe some family somewhere. And I took him away from them. I did what Rictus did to my aunts, my uncles, my cousins.
You didn't inflict the condition on him, so you haven't done the same. I hope. Did you?
She may not know.
Yeah, that's an aspect that she's never actually drained.
Because this was the first time you'd ever actually killed anybody, wasn't it?
Yep.
No. Well, you raised the prospect of that, and that may actually that may catch Blessed Thorn off guard. I was going to try to give you some kind of pep talk, but that may very well have thrown her for a bit of a loop, unfortunately. Just a theory. If I did, would it in theory be feasible to give a quote unquote pep talk and maybe impose make a maneuver roll for some kind of condition to give her better I don't know
give her the suck it up buttercup condition.
Well,
or quality.
Not worded like that, but something that could basically give her bonuses to resist vampiric effects if it need be. If it comes to that, I don't know if we're in the place where I could justify trying to make that attempt because we're all. I feel like
when the time comes up, I'll let you make, and you decide you need to do that. I'll let you make the roll, and then you can tell us what the pep talk was, and then you'll be reminding her of it, or she'll be remembering it as the situation comes up.
Yeah, but we may just need to cut off at that awkward point because that could be the.
At that awkward point, you hear through the bedroom door, shh, shh, shh. And then when you open the door, you've got Nicole and Amber both just ear against the door.
Of course.
Really? Really?
Well, Thorn looked so serious when she walked in. We were just,
We all just care about you.
You want one of your juice bags?
I ate a little bit ago.
Oh, that's
it tastes worse
we
now.
We probably need to get some sleep before the big day.
Yeah.
Or big afternoon.
True. And we'll see you in the morning.
Well, it's already morning. I was sleeping through the day when you would be going to class and then in the afternoon. All right. So the afternoon rolls around.
Let's do this thing.
All the volunteers are gathered together. The assault team is located in one of the dorm lounges. Or, excuse me, I said it in the gymnasium. Because there's plenty of room and it's underground, so all they can do is flip off the lights and then Kayla can grab everybody. As I said, Dynaman's in low Earth orbit. Or about as high up as he can get. To cut off the ship in case she pulls a fast one. Rigajig, you're out in front of the volunteers. The ship lands across the street. The back hatch spirals open, and a little ramp comes out. You're pretty sure it's the ship that you. Actually, y'all didn't catch sight of it at the last base, but. As y'all start walking across, a blue and white kind of humanoid, kind of bulky. Robot walks down the gangplank. There's some other bigger, bulkier ones inside the ship. As you approach Rigajig, it walks up to you. Greetings.
Salutations.
I am N3 PC. Human cyborg confrontations. Or altercations. Are these the volunteers?
Yes.
And you are test subject 64138?
I was, yes. By technical, I believe I still am, but I believe I'll be given a new name or a new assignment shortly.
Is there a name you would rather be addressed by?
Siegfried.
Come this way, Siegfried, and bring the volunteers. And he just turns around and marches back up. Not a whole lot of emotion coming out of this guy. Not as much as, say, the medical droid that seemed to have a personality. When you get up in there, you do see the medical droid.
Thank you for sharing my number to your boss. That was quite helpful in facilitating this.
Of course, I tell her everything. So they bring everybody in. The inside the ship is it's not the full size pods like you've seen before, but it's kind of these smaller things built into the wall, just enough room for them to kind of get in and kind of lean back against it at an angle, and then it comes down and shuts on them. Nicole and which is Friendly Fire, and Shooting Star are both they both seem particularly nervous as it kind of shuts on them. Though the only person that doesn't look particularly nervous at all is Larry. He just seems to be kind of interested in what's going on.
Rigajig feels awfully uncomfortable about this.
They do not shut you into one of the pods.
Probably the best.
The medical bot basically tells you this will put your friends into a light sleep, so they're not overly stressed in transit. It sounds all the world to you like somebody talking about putting a tarp over a parrot or a cat carrier or something to keep them calm while you're traveling with them. The ship takes off. To anyone watching, like on a monitor or something in the gymnasium, as the ship takes off, it cloaks. Rigajig, you're taken up to like the cockpit. N3 PC sits down in his, in the pilot's chair. So you can see out the window. You can see that you're flying across the city. You're not gaining massive altitude. They seem to travel, eastward out of the city. They get out over the ocean and turn and run up the course.
Sorry.
Wow, somebody is highly amused by something.
I'll leave myself.
Anyway, they go north up the coastline before the ship drops into the water.
Oh, yay, underwater base.
And it doesn't hit you. It like comes to a stop and then lowers itself into the water.
Man.
And it drifts down. You find it's like an underwater cave is like the entrance. So the entrance is under the ocean. The facility looks like it's back up under the shore to some degree. In a fairly abandoned area. You didn't see a whole lot of human settlement around here.
Mm.
So let me. Oh, y'all are already sitting on the map.
You have a bracelet?
So I guess y'all have been staring at this blank map or blacked out map the whole time.
Yup.
All right. Well,
Except
let
the
me
tiny
reveal-
right. Except the tiny corner at the top right.
Yeah, well, that's not important. There we go. Alright, so that's him. And then Rigajig. I assume that y'all can see the. Did it unveil the hangar?
No. Not for me, anyway.
Let me try this again. I remember the reveal tool was giving me trouble last time, too.
Alright, I can see it now.
Alright. So yeah, the robots start unloading the pods. You are taking on not really a tour of the facility per se, but they do. Let me see.
Oh, hey, it's AP armored.
What's that?
The token from season 1.
Oh yes, yes. Not that your character would recognize that model of droid.
Yeah.
But all right. So five of the volunteers are put into the tubes here in this room. And Taylor, those are the tubes like Rigajig was in that time. You know, it's the whole back to tube looking thing.
Yeah. Not comfortable, but
The other 6 are taken up to this room in the north where it has flat out cryopods. The medical bot explains to you that, you know, her original plan had been to get the 11 and leave the system. But with the altered plan, she's put together what pods she had left. So these 6 are going to be put in cryo for a week or two until she gets more pods constructed.
it's understandable.
You know, they're superpowers, so she doesn't want them like loose in like a cage or something because, you know, they bust out or whatever.
Now, the question is, in the result of a failure of the cryopod, do they just come out, or will there be a potential injury? Because this will have to be discussed.
These are Mark 23 cryopods. The Starforgers have used them for decades. They're very reliable. And he proceeds to go over, you know, how the fail-safes work. And yes, there are fail-safes to basically wake you up rather than allow injury or death.
All right.
They're used oftentimes in long-distance travel, or if a ship becomes stranded somewhere, they'll throw a distress call and then go into the cryopods kind of thing.
All right. Understandable.
Eat that love.
And you get the impression, the way it's talking, that a lot of this lab is like cannibalized parts from ships and stuff. Like her good stuff has been wrecked, and she's just kind of working with what she's got.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
Didn't sound like good news for the old Zach.
No.
Not really.
That sounds like a... Oh, okay. I was about to say, it sounds like either a baby blew out a diaper or a dog did something gross. He was a dog, okay.
It was a dog doing something gross.
I mean, when you got babies and dogs, gross can come from anybody.
It's true.
All right. So the volunteers are all loaded into various sorts of pods. Let's see. Where's my token for the cute robot? So he's there with the rig-a-jig. You're not sure where Big Blue is at the moment. All right. And you know that according to the plan, Kayla should have been looking through a shadow into the ship. So she should know where you're at, though you don't have a method of communicating with her.
Yeah.
The medical droid tells you that you probably haven't noticed yet, but of course your phone has been jammed since you entered in, since you entered the ship, in an attempt to block any form of communication. So you can't be tracked here. Because that's part of the deal. There has to be some secrecy about the base.
Yeah.
But he tells you in your quarters you'll be, given a communication device that's encrypted or whatever, where you can contact the school. You'll be allowed to go back and visit the school as a sign of good faith.
Good, because I still also need to take my classes.
Yes, they may have you take virtual classes along with the other students that are here. But with a headset that enter you into the VR, not the full pod.
Well, that would be good for communicating to them to make sure that the deal is being upheld.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how long were y'all planning to wait for the assault team to do something? And are they waiting for a signal out of you of some sort, or... Because so far you have not seen the Starforger herself.
I would say we want to hold off until the ship returns to her base. And maybe wait until
the ship is in a base now.
Oh, my bad.
You haven't seen any sign that the Starforger is actually in the base yet. She's been having her robots handle all this so far.
Yeah.
We may need to wait till Zach or not Zach, but Rigajig can confirm that she's actually present.
There. Yeah.
Because we need to catch her.
But out of virtually every superhero game I've ever run, I think the Starforger is my villain that's gotten away the most often. It's like she's literally escaped every time she's shown up, and she's shown up, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
She's a master of knowing when to run away.
My players hate it when I have villains that just keep escaping. Sorry.
I will discuss interest in having like a sample trade, so to speak. Let her look at the Viridium I've made to tell me what's wrong with it, because it's not as good as hers.
And later that day, sure enough, the Starforger actually shows up.
Which I'm assuming, since Kayla can see through the shadows, that she's kind of looking around at what she can.
You would hope so.
And if this is a cobbled together place, there's probably a handful of dark corners here and there.
Yes, it is not as well lit as the last base you were in. The 2 lab areas, very well lit. They are
Yeah, they're the places you have to work in. So
The rest of it looks... It's got almost a prefab vibe to it. Like some of it's natural cavern that maybe she's thrown, sheet metal over or something. There are areas in the hallway where you can see the wiring running along the wall, outside of the wall. Like I said, the lab areas seem to be in pretty decent shape. It's like everything else has been kind of a side, Like this was a base she didn't have complete, and then when the deal changed, she's kind of rushed to get it serviceable at least. And the robot has assured you that the facility will be continually improved as she goes forward. But later that evening, the robot's got you in the lab. The Starforger comes in. With Big Blue. And he goes in first. She's kind of behind him, looking around him at you. Because your initial reaction to her last time was kind of violent. Subject 64138.
I'd prefer to be called Siegfried right now, since we're, in essence, going to be working together.
That's fair. That's fair.
Now, Siegfried will also let the suit disconnect and step out of it as a show of good faith. I'm not here to fight right now.
She relaxes a little bit when you do that. She's like, yes, I do want to examine that suit.
In principle, it's basic physics of condensed air, but because of the power of iridium, the condensation, how condensed you can make the air without danger is a lot higher than most metals on Earth. Okay. It's a combination of simple principles.
Ah, yes, I see. Sort of a pneumatic suit. Fascinating. I'm very interested to see how for you to explain how you managed to recreate Viridium. Even if it's relatively low quality. And with you out of the suit, she walks up and starts checking the suit. She takes out some sort of little device and kind of runs it over the suit. For a second, it almost looks like a potato peeler. But it lights up like energy blades, and she does actually shave a little bit of the metal off to take a sample.
That's fine.
Like I said, it's a shaving. It's not going to affect any kind of integrity of the suit or anything.
Yeah.
And she proceeds to explain the problems with this. Some of it's a little over your head, though. Having been taking classes and working alongside Dr. Weiss, outside of class, you're following more of it than you would have before school, for sure. And it basically comes down to basically there's extra impurities in it that you didn't get out. It's almost like the difference between low carbon steel and the kind of high carbon or tungsten steel. But she's suitably impressed that that a child with human technology has managed this.
Well, I have been making it in a somewhat barbaric manner, I'll admit.
And how exactly was it that Rigajig has managed to make this stuff?
I've more or less been splicing my own blood into it while using the magic rune I've got for metal transformation to mold it into what I remember, as close as I can remember it being, while using the blood additive to kind of stretch what it's allowed to be a little bit more. because I have a little bit of pure Viridium. From when I was kidnapped, I was able to snag a piece.
Mhm.
And using that snag piece, I've been trying to reform other metals magically into it. While adding blood, because I knew that's what it needed to be magic.
So yes, Viridium is very hard to magically reproduce. It's why we generally just manufacture it, from scratch. Very impressive ingenuity, though. You may make a fine apprentice.
Well, unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of catch up on the scientific side.
No, of course. But as long as you prove useful, I'll be happy to share knowledge with you. And then when I leave, you'll have that knowledge to make your way in your world.
Yeah, I'll essentially be the only human being capable of making Viridium. Which
now the Starforgers will most likely try to convince you to join the organization.
Are there a lot of excess rules I'll need to know about?
Yes, but the reps would cover all of that. I'm something of a lapsed member, or I should say, I'm fairly independent. I'm still in the rolls.
But they wouldn't really want to admit to going around agreements that were being made right now.
Yes, I was. From their estimations, I have jumped the gun a bit. Their negotiations with your United Nations was just taking so long. And then that extra-dimensional creature showed up, and they were frightened and ran away, and I'm not certain they've ventured back to the system yet. Though, from what I hear, there's some sort of commotion going out at the outer rim of the galaxy that seems to be diverting their attention. I don't know.
I assume it's hard to get news out this far.
Yes, this is a undeveloped section of space. And as she's been talking, she starts typing, and you see some of the little wires dropping down, and it looks like hoses, like syringes, built in the end of them that lower down and start injecting into the people in the pods. Or I shouldn't say injecting; they insert, and then they begin extracting blood. She walks around each pod, setting up the life support, making sure things are monitored, making sure they don't take too much. How was Ricky Jig's emotions while he's watching this portion of what she's doing going on?
It's kind of, on the verge of panic. Just kind of like, really wish I was not here seeing this right now. Because, I know it's not a fun thing to I know you don't really feel anything technically, but, it's not a fun thing to wake up in one of those.
Yes. And they all seem to be unconscious right now. They have not woken up since the little sleep pods they were putting in the shuttle. All right. So is Rigajig going to trigger the assault team at this point? And how is he going to try to initiate it?
Well, I'm going to kind of wait till there's because Kayla's got access to the ship.
Yes.
Oh, I will mention to her that I'm a little surprised that you had P3 drive, I'll admit.
You mean N3 PC?
Yeah, sorry, N3 PC.
Oh, he's quite capable.
What? It just seemed like a risk to go out on your only send your only ship out there without you on it, just because you'd get stranded here if it was some kind of sneak attack.
Yes, but I would still be free. And I know of a couple of other ships on the planet that I might be able to
Procure?
One is not in working order, but the loathsome creature that owns it can't repair it.
Loathsome because they can't repair it, or is this like a racial species thing?
Oh no, I have no problem with his species. He was just a jackass to me. He and his team wrecked one of my bases.
How rude.
I obviously can't say anything about that.
But he has a ship that he can't get functioning. So I'm fairly certain I could get it working. And of course, your government's superhuman division and
Has an orbital ship.
yes, and shuttles capable of faster than light. So, though I would probably go after the janitor's ship first. I think it would be easier to get a hold of.
Alright, now that I've quietly learned that's the only ship.
Yes, you have definitely learned that that's the only. This shuttle is the only shuttle she's got access to. Right at this moment. So she putters around the lab for the rest of the day. Starts showing you the beginning process of how she preps the blood to create viridium. She takes a sample from you to show this. She's like, normal human blood works better for viridium simply because the superhumans is such an odd mixture of qualities to it that you never know exactly how it's going to turn out. Your government or former government operatives showed me the potential for taking unaugmented individuals and creating formidable supers. I can see people all over the galaxy wanting superpowered mercenaries.
And by augmentation, you could also have somewhat reverse engineer it into the metals by knowing what augmentation it gives to the metal.
Potentially, that is a potential.
You could potentially back and forth it.
I have not gotten. Haven't had time to develop that aspect of it.
Yeah,
I've been working with iridium with the regular blood I had, and then your government guys had me working on the superpowered people.
Yeah, there hasn't been much time for you to gain any consistency to your experiments.
Yes, and I keep having to rebuild bases. My God, I've never encountered a planet that hated progress as much as this one. All right, back at the school. Those of you that were not volunteers, which is pretty much just Lacuna, you're down there with the rest of the assault team. You're basically in the dark because, oh no, y'all don't have to be in the dark until she wants to teleport you. So y'all are all standing there basically just looking at Kayla while Kayla is over to one side, kneeled down. It looks like she's looking under the bleachers. But, she's just looking at the darkest shadow she can find. And is there for a while, finally just stretches out on the floor and just laying there. Okay, and she tells you, okay, they landed, they're unloading everybody. Man, they're way out there. It's about this is about as far as I can see.
Do you have any idea where they are? Or like they're still on Earth, right?
Yeah. I think if they got into space, I don't think I'd be able to see them anymore.
Right.
And it didn't take them. I mean, it took them a while to get there, but not a freakish long time. And she tells you how, the robots are unloading the little sleep pods. She told you about the sleep pods. Hang on, I'm going to try to change shadows. And she basically changes, explains how she's changing her view from, inside the ship to, like, the shadow cast by the ship. So she's, like, looking out from under the ship at this point. And she sort of hops around the facility. It's like every shadow she sees from a shadow, she changes her perspective to there. So she explains that there's a lot of the big robots running around. Only one of the blue guys, but the little blood taking droids there. She tells you she sees it's this like green big headed alien, and proceeds to describe the Starforger that y'all all seen before.
Yep, that's her.
Wow, she seems to be getting along with Rigajig pretty well. And he's like not punching her or anything.
He can be pretty contained when he needs to be.
Oh, gross! There's like tentacles with needles poking people. Ooh, I mean they're asleep, so they don't seem to mind. But,
Still, ew.
So she gives y'all basically what I described of the two medical facilities. Y'all know six of the volunteers are currently frozen.
Does she hear the conversation about them being safe and everything?
Yes.
Which means she also hears that that's the only ship.
She does not necessarily pick up on that right away. But she's repeating it to the entire class, so. Alright, let's see. So 6 of them are frozen. So Pinball is frozen. Swarm is frozen. Geist is frozen. Stacy, aka Shooting Star, is frozen. Quark is frozen. And Jasmine, Sub-Zero. So the ones that are in the pods in the room Rigajig is in currently is Blessed Thorn, Putty, Eric, Friendly Fire, and Amber, Starlight Gem. So Kayla's like, when are we needing to bust in on him? Ooh, she's taking a blood sample from Rigajig now. He looks really nervous. Oh, now it's boring science talk again. I think she's showing him how to make the metal or something.
Something he's been wanting to learn how to do. Let's give him a few more minutes.
It's really boring, though.
Yeah.
And Grandpa told me superhero wasn't going to be all excitement. Or great Grandpa.
Who's ready to go? Get ready. I'm going to give him like 5 minutes. Then I think it's time to get along down with the whole head cracking thing.
Lance Charles like, hey, I'm in charge. But yeah, we can give him a few more minutes. Behind Bruce, you see Night Terror just kind of roll her eyes. She seems a lot more at ease like this, like she's done stakeouts before, so the waiting around didn't bother her. All right. Now, Rigajig would probably have a pretty good idea that Kayla is watching him. Is there?
Yeah, I'm under the assumption.
Was there any sort of prearranged signal that y'all might have come up with? You throw a hand sign, And I mean, she's supposed to flood. People supposed to flood in.
There was nothing prearranged, but I'll ask. When will I get that ability to communicate and tell them things are as requested?
Oh, she's like, of course. She calls the medical droids, whatever its serial numbers is. Take Siegfried to his. You did tell her Siegfried, right?
Yes.
Okay. Take Mr. Siegfried here to the, or apprentice Siegfried here, to his quarters and show him how to use the communication device that we had set up. So he leads you out into the hallway here, and
I'll go ahead and get. I'll ask permission to get back in my rig. It's a bit heavy to just carry around, so it's easier to move it wearing it.
Oh, certainly. But she kind of motions, and Big Blue comes over and stands between her and you. Just being cautious, you understand.
Considering our last meeting and my anger, yes, I can understand this completely.
For run-of-the-mill days, probably just leave the rig in your room.
If there's communication back and forth, I may just leave it on the ship, kind of in a storage compartment.
Oh, that would be fine. We have room now that we've taken the sleep pods out. All right, so the robot
Back in our rig.
will lead you back to your room if you're going to follow it all the way there.
Yes.
All right.
We'll tell the medical droid if there's one of those pods in that room, I may cause some trouble.
Oh no need for that. It is not an especially large room, but there is there's room to set the rig in the corner. There is like a small desk, a bed. Have you ever seen, not like a full-size bed, but like like the cots you have in like a prison cell. It's attached to the wall. It's got a decently comfortable mattress or whatever. On the desk, there is the communication device. The robot shows you how to operate it. It won't give you coordinates like of where you're at or give you any information that could help them track you back or anything. Basically, it sort of hacks into the Earth communication network. Sometimes the phone line, sometimes the internet or whatever, but it's like a souped up VPN sort of thing that it runs you all over the place. So if somebody tried to track your signal back,
So I'll send a message of, landed safely. Everyone is all right. We are still on Earth as per agreement. Currently, some students are in cryo instead of the VR system that is expected to last for a few days, potentially 2 weeks, while the rest of the system is set up correctly. Explain that the plan was to go into space, but they, due to the agreement, there will be some movement of materials and set up on an Earth base. So far, everything is exactly as it is. Anyway, and then state, I am currently working with her in base. Everything's going as stated.
And the medical droids are kind of looking over your shoulder while you're typing.
Yeah, be like, can you get her approval that this message is all right and does not give any information that does not need to be given?
And he's been watching you type it in. Yes, this seems to be fine.
And then I will send it to, Landshark's number as an instructor.
All right. Landshark, in the gymnasium, Landshark gets the text. It's a really long text, though.
Yeah, that's going to be the closest thing to a signal possible.
Right.
So does Landshark answer? Look at his text.
Yeah. Well, I would assume Landshark would be like, okay, let's go.
Kayla hops up. Finally. Lights. The gym goes dark.
Now, I am a little bit worried
What's that?
because I'm kind of hoping Kayla just pops in on the boss and not the ship. But there's no way to communicate that.
Unfortunately, she's bringing a crowd of people, so she goes for the biggest shadow she could find,
That's fair.
which is the now darkened ship. Lacuna, you're one of the first people she grabs. And she just sort of pushes you forward. Oh, right. Sorry, I should probably say something. I forget you guys can't see like this. You think a vampire could see in the dark, though. I mean, not that I'm criticizing. And then it's like you're out of the shadow and boom, stumbling down the gangplank of the ship.
Oh, you think that stopped getting weird, but no, it's very weird.
So basically, the ship is still open, but the interior lights have turned off, giving her a nice large area that she's grabbing people by the arms and just kind of not even stepping out of the shadows herself, just pushing y'all out of the shadows. Let's see. I won't bother throwing all the miniatures, but so yes, she pulls Lacuna through first. Well, and then probably the adults, Landshark and Night Terror. Yeah, and one by one, as soon as you stumble out, though, you see one of those large robots that immediately swivels its head around, starts swinging over with its big gun arm. Intruders detected. Sounding alarm, and an alarm starts going off through the Rigajig in your room. The medical droid looks up in alarm. Oh my, what is going on? And then his little soft, glowing blue eyes turn red and they focus on Rigajig.
Uh-oh.
What's up?
You untrustworthy savage.
The fuck I do? Champ, I'm finally getting to learn how to make the stuff that'll keep me alive on this planet.
A scalpel pops out from one of his hands and like syringes come out of the other one. And I guess that'll be where we wrap. Because it's almost 4. And this is going to be an extended little something. So yes, medical droid is acting threatening to Rigajig. Also, when the eyes turned red and started talking to you, it was not speaking in the voice it usually speaks. It sounded like the Starforger. So we'll start up next time with all the assault team pouring into the shuttle bay, while all of her robots probably pour into the shuttle bay as well.
Our first fight in outer space.
We're not in outer space, champ.
Oh, well.
It's an undersea base.
No,
That's right.
worse. We're underwater.
Yeah, and it's not our first fight underwater either.
Oh no.
But
I
it's
didn't-
okay.
I-
Land Shark
Oh.
won't realize.
I didn't mention it to Land Shark.
It'll be fine until the base floods.
Oh no.
And then the earthquake triggers.
We're gonna die. We're gonna die.
That's fine. The campaign's over. The season's over. Anyway.
Well, just this portion. But yeah, this story would be over. So anyway, hope you guys had fun. I know it was, you know, a lot more role playing than, you know, the fighting. But
Oh, it's always
great.
fun.
but the next session will be a lot of brawling.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the wrap up of how the rest of y'all's year goes once that's over. So anyway, anybody that comes by and watches this later or listens to the podcast version, I hope you had fun. Hope you join us next time. We'll be back in. Well, it'll be a month this time because we're skipping this what would be the session right after Thanksgiving for obvious reasons. So we'll see y'all in December.
Yeah, the holidays are going to be rough on our gaming schedule.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll wrap up in December and then take a break until January to start back up. Well, like I did a few sessions back, I forgot to introduce everybody at the beginning, so I'll go ahead and do it now. I'm Jason, and playing with me has been Mike playing Blessed Thorn.
Signing off from Maryland.
Oh yeah, you'll be in Cleveland next time, won't you?
I will. In an undisclosed basement.
Undisclosed base. Maybe it's a
But yeah.
basement, but you know, it's still a base. So yeah, Mike playing Blessed Thorn, Curtis playing Putty,
Laters.
Taylor playing Rigajig,
See you soon.
and Zach playing Lacuna Lane.
Bye bye.